I was indicted twice in 1998, January of '98. I was charged with by the Secret Service in a phone card case, which was, we beat that from the bench. It was dismissed from the bench. It was dropped, that case. And I wound up pleading guilty on the racketeering case, which is a separate case, which was made by the Attorney General's Office of New York. There was the Organized Crime Task Force, along with the FBI, New Rochelle FBI office. Okay, I was charged with racketeering. But that's what we had done. And that's what I was charged with, okay? I had pled guilty, had taken a 7-year deal. I forfeited several $1 million and properties, and under the understanding that basically that would be my last case. I could have won that case. I pled guilty on that case to try to bring closure. I wanted to go to prison. Look, let's call it, I was a criminal, okay? I was a criminal and I deserved to go to jail. That was the bottom line. And I looked at it, that's the way I viewed it. It was hard to articulate that view to my father because my father had always understood that he believed what he was, what we were, was right. We were right. We had morals, whereas that many in the government don't have morals. My father would look at it and say, I would never ask an individual to do anything I wouldn't do myself. So therefore, my father always believed. He always believed what he was. He was proud of what he was, okay? So at that point, it was hard for me to articulate that view to my dad and make him understand that, look, my perspective is different than your perspective. So, look, I want to give my pound of flesh. I want to go off and serve my time, and he would stop me. Like, why? Why do you have to give them the satisfaction? Why bow to these people? Why? I'm not bowing to them. You can't say, because the visit between my dad and I was being videotaped. So I really can't articulate my view and say, hey, look, I'm a criminal. I'm going to jail. What's the big deal? I have to. We expect it. It had to come sooner or later, right? So I'm going to go, I'll give them the pound of flesh. I'll serve some time, and I'll get out, hopefully still a relatively young man. And my children will still be, my oldest boy would be 14 when I get out, 15 tops. And therefore I could salvage something of my family and try to give them somewhat of a normal existence. So I took the plea. I forfeited millions. I had an agreement. At that time, my attorney was Jerry Shargell, and as well as Bruce Cutler, and Professor Charles Ogletree as well. And Jerry had articulated the views to the judge that the reason why we were taking the plea was in the interest of closure. We put it on the record. We let it be understood. That was the only reason why. Otherwise, I would have fought. I could have won that case. But the way I viewed it was, to what end? I win the case, okay? I've just got the Secret Service case dismissed. I beat that one. Now I win this case. So what am I, the second coming of the Teflon Don? What happens next? The target gets bigger and bigger on my back. So I says, no. Let me try to defuse this now. Let me just take my time. Let me go in, and hopefully I can move on with my life. Now, while I was in, the government had other ideas, okay?
Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to take a second to remind you, please hit that subscribe button, and if you like what we're doing and want to make a donation, you can do that via Cash App at American Made Channel. Now, let's get back to the video.
These criminals, what they're doing is they're getting government absolution for their crimes. No matter how heinous the crimes are, no matter how egregious their acts are, doesn't matter. What they're doing is giving them deals. Testify, give us, if the target's big enough, like in my case, I was the biggest target in the country. My father's case, he was the biggest in the country. They used Sammy Gravano. Absolution for some 19, 20 murders, and they released him after 4 years in jail.
It's all too often, it's prevalent. For example, if you look back to 1997, Sammy Gravano had written a book. And Sammy Gravano, he flipped in November of 1991, he became a cooperator, and he was a high-ranking member. He was a true blue high-ranking member of the Gambino crime family. And at that point, I refused to read his book. I didn't read his book, nor did my father. But what I had to read it before my last trial because of the fact that I was charged. There were several accusations that were brought forward to me, against me, that Sammy Gravano had testified and put other people on those crimes. For example, the Louis DeBono murder, Wilfred Johnson murder. So I had to read the book. And the more and more I read the book, the more and more I saw that he was taking himself out of an unfavorable light, and painting himself in a better picture, putting himself in a more favorable light, and he reversed the roles and moved my father more into the direction of his life.
It is what it is. It is what it is, the Gotti name. However, he took responsibility for what he had done. He's going to go to prison like a man, not like some of these government cooperators, okay? And that'll be that.